He died a broken man, still chasing a dream that slipped through his fingers. Yet his voyages changed the world in ways he never imagined. How did Columbus's story end after his last brutal trip? And what did his discoveries mean for history? Was he a hero, a villain, or something else entirely? Stick around, because this story of his final years and lasting impact is wilder and deeper than you think. It's November 1504, and Christopher Columbus has just limped back to Spain after his fourth voyage, a grueling journey that left him stranded, sick, and empty-handed. He's no longer the celebrated explorer of 1492. He's fighting for respect and a legacy that's slipping away. This video is all about how Columbus's story ended and what his voyages meant for the world. We're diving into his last struggles, his death, and the massive ripple effects, good and bad, that still shape our world today. Columbus is back in Spain, but his glory days are gone. He's sick, broke, and facing a royal court that's moved on to newer explorers. He wants the rewards he was promised: titles, riches, respect. But Spain's focused on colonizing the new world he found. Can he reclaim his place in history before it's too late? And what does his legacy mean when it's tied to both discovery and destruction? Let's break it down. Columbus's fourth voyage was a disaster. Storms, shipwrecks, a year stranded on Jamaica, and no western passage to Asia. He returned to Spain on November 7th, 1504, landing in Sanlúcar, barely alive. He's 53, racked with arthritis, possibly gout, and maybe an infection from his brutal travels. His body's failing, but his mind's still sharp, obsessed with proving he reached Asia and securing his rewards from the 1492 contract. 10% of the New World's profits, the title, Admiral of the Ocean Sea, and governorship of the lands he found. When Columbus gets back, Spain's a different place. Queen Isabella, his biggest supporter, is dying. She passes on November 26, 1504, just weeks after his return. King Ferdinand is running the show, and he's not as warm to Columbus. Spain's buzzing with new explorers like Amerigo Vespucci, who's mapping the New World and suggesting it's not Asia, but a new continent. Columbus's claim to fame, finding a route to Asia, is looking shaky, and his colony in Hispaniola, now under Governor Nicolas de Ovando, is growing without him. Columbus settles in Seville, too sick to travel far. He's broke. His voyages didn't bring the riches he promised, and Spain's slow to pay up. He writes letters to Ferdinand, begging for his promised profits and titles. He's got his sons, Diego and Ferdinand, helping him, plus loyal allies like the monk Gaspar Gorizio, who keeps his papers organized. Columbus is stubborn, still insisting he found Asia's edge: China, Japan, or India, not a new world. He's got maps, journals, and his own book of prophecies, where he claims God chose him to discover these lands and spread Christianity. Let's talk about his fight for rewards. The 1492 capitulations of Santa Fe promised Columbus a significant cut of New World wealth, but Spain was dragging its feet. Hispaniola's producing some gold, but not enough, and the Taino population is collapsing from disease and overwork. Smallpox and Spanish demands have killed tens of thousands. Columbus argues he's owed money for every ounce of gold and every enslaved person sent back. Ferdinand listens but stalls, saying the accounts need auditing. Columbus feels betrayed, writing that he's been robbed of his due. The court's mood is mixed. Some nobles respect Columbus as the person who initiated Spain's empire. He discovered the Caribbean and South America, opening the door to colonization. But others see him as a has-been. His governorship was a mess: mutiny, Taino rebellions, and his arrest in 1500 didn't help. Newer explorers are stealing the spotlight, and scholars like Vespucci are publishing maps calling the New World America, not Columbia. Columbus is bitter. feeling pushed aside by rivals who build on his work. In 1505, Columbus made one last push. He's too sick to visit court, so he sends his son Diego to Valladolid, where Ferdinand is holding in court. Diego pleads his father's case, showing journals and contracts. Columbus also writes a will, naming Diego as his heir to fight for the family's titles and profits. He's not giving up, even as his health fades. He moves to Valladolid, hoping to see Ferdinand, but the king keeps him at arm's length, focused on bigger issues like Spain's wars and Portugal's rival explorations. The public's view of Columbus is fading too. In Seville and Valladolid, people still talk about his voyages. Stories of Indians, gold, and new lands are big in taverns and markets. But the hype from 1493 is gone. Spain's more excited about what's next, gold mines, new colonies, than about Columbus himself. He's like an old rock star, respected, but no longer the main act. Some sailors admire him, but others say his trips were cursed. Too many storms, too much death. Columbus's health keeps getting worse. By early 1506, he was bedridden, suffering from pain and fevers. He's surrounded by family and a few loyal friends, dictating letters and praying a lot. He's super religious now, seeing himself as a divine messenger. On May 20th, 1506, Columbus died in Valladolid, in a small house, far from the glory of his first voyage. His last words, according to his son Ferdinand, are, "Into thy hands, O Lord, I commend my spirit." He's 54, and his death barely makes a ripple. Spain's too busy building an empire. Columbus's death in 1506, almost unnoticed by the court he once dazzled. He dies believing he found Asia, not a new world, and fighting for rewards he never fully got. His family, Diego and Ferdinand, carry on, suing Spain for years to secure his titles and profits. Diego eventually becomes governor of Hispaniola in 1509, winning some of what Columbus was owed. But it's a long, messy fight. Now, let's talk about what it all meant. Columbus's legacy. His voyages changed history in ways he couldn't have dreamed. He didn't find Asia, but he opened the Americas to Europe, kicking off the age of exploration. Spain built an empire, gold from Mexico, silver from Peru. Thanks to its first steps, the New World brought wealth, new foods like potatoes and corn, and a global trade network that shaped the modern world. Without Columbus, no Cortez, no Pizarro, no transatlantic trade, yet. But there's a dark side. His voyages started a catastrophe for native peoples. The Taino, who welcomed him in 1492, were nearly wiped out by 1550. Disease, slavery, and violence killed millions across the Americas. Columbus wasn't the worst offender, but he set the pattern, claiming land, demanding gold, enslaving locals. His legacy is tied to colonization's horrors, genocide, exploitation, and cultural loss. Today, some see him as a bold explorer, others as a symbol of destruction. His name sparks debates. Columbus Day versus Indigenous Peoples Day shows how divided we are. What does it mean? Columbus was a man of his time, driven, flawed, and blind to the harm he caused. He was no villain plotting genocide, but no saint either. His courage and vision opened a new world, but at a terrible cost. The big question is, how do we weigh his discoveries against the devastation that followed? That's a question that still echoes today. Columbus's story ended quietly, but his legacy is loud. Hero to some, villain to others, and a spark for a world remade. His voyages started something bigger than he could have known, for better and worse. Want to know how his discoveries shaped the Americas we know today? Check out the following video. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my video with others.